Let me ask you something very honest. You have seen people, maybe engineers, doctors, lawyers, people who earn lakhs every month. And yet, somehow, they are always broke, always stressed, always one bad month away from disaster. And then, you have also seen people, maybe a school teacher, a small shopkeeper, a government employee, who never earned big, never got lucky in the stock market, and somehow, by the time they retire, they have built a quiet fortune. How is that possible? The answer has nothing to do with how much they earned. It has everything to do with how they thought about money. Today, we are going to go deep into one of the most powerful ideas about money, wealth, and the human mind. And I promise you, by the time this video ends, your relationship with money will never be the same again. Stay with me. This one is going to change things. Now, most of us grew up believing that money is a math problem. Earn more, spend less, invest the rest. Done. But if that were true, then why do so many smart, educated, well-earning people make terrible financial decisions every single day? Why do lottery winners go broke within 5 years? Why do athletes who earned millions end up bankrupt by 40? And why does a simple, ordinary person sometimes retire with a massive, unbelievable amount of wealth just by making a few quiet, consistent decisions over decades? The answer is this: money is not a math problem. Money is a behavior problem. The way you think, the way you feel, the stories you tell yourself about money, all of that matters far more than any spreadsheet, any formula, or any financial advisor. And here's the biggest mistake most people make. They think they need more information about money, more tips, more tricks, more strategies. But what they actually need is a deeper understanding of their own psychology. That is exactly what we are going to explore today: the invisible mental forces that decide whether you build wealth or destroy it. Let's go. Here is something nobody tells you, and it is so obvious once you see it, you'll wonder why you never thought about it before. Imagine two people sitting in the same room, watching the same news channel, hearing the same expert say, the stock market is risky right now. One person panics. They pull all their money out immediately. The other person smiles and quietly invests more. Who is right? Who is wrong? Here's the thing. Both of them are making a completely logical decision. But why? Because they grew up in completely different worlds. The first person, maybe they grew up in a household where their parents lost everything in a market crash. As a child, they watched their family go from comfort to struggle overnight. For them, the stock market is not just a financial tool, it is a source of trauma. The second person, maybe they grew up watching their grandfather patiently invest every month for 30 years and retire with complete dignity and peace. For them, the market is not scary, it is a friend. Same information, completely opposite reactions. This is the first and most important truth about money. Your financial decisions are shaped by experiences you had, often before you even had a job. Your parents' relationship with money shaped yours. The neighborhood you grew up in shaped yours. The conversations you heard at the dinner table, or the ones you didn't hear, shaped yours. And the dangerous part? Most of us don't even know this is happening. We think we are making rational choices, but in reality, we are responding to old emotional programming. Here is the mistake people make because of this. They judge other people's financial decisions using their own experience as the ruler. Why would anyone buy a house in this market? Says someone who has always rented and is comfortable with that. Why would anyone keep money in a savings account? Says someone who has always invested aggressively and it worked out. The truth is, there is no single correct way to think about money that applies to every single human being. Because you are not just a financial machine, you are a person with a history, with fears, with ambitions, with a story. Think about this. Two brothers grow up in the same house, same parents, same income. One grows up to be incredibly careful with money, never takes risks, saves everything. The other grows up to be a bold investor, takes risks, chases growth. Why? Because even though they shared the same house, they had different experiences within that house, different conversations with different people, different teachers, different friends, different moments that shaped them. This means, before you judge your own financial decisions, before you compare yourself to someone else, you need to understand where your money story comes from. Here is your first practical action. Take out a notebook, sit quietly for 10 minutes.
Write down your earliest memory involving money. What happened? How did it make you feel? Was money something that caused stress in your home, or was it something that felt abundant and safe? That one memory might explain years, maybe decades of your current financial behavior. Know your story before you try to change your story. Now, once you understand where your money mindset comes from, the next question is, what do you actually do with money once you have it? And here, most people make a mistake that looks smart, but destroys wealth quietly. Let me explain. There was once a man named Jesse Livermore. In the early 1900s, this man became one of the greatest stock traders in American history. He made an absolutely enormous fortune, the kind of wealth that most people cannot even imagine. He was celebrated, he was famous, he was the definition of financial success. And then he lost it all, multiple times. Not because the market was unfair, not because someone cheated him, but because the very same boldness, the same aggression, the same risk-taking that made him a fortune in the first place was the same thing that destroyed it. You see, getting rich and staying rich are not the same skill. Getting rich often requires optimism, boldness, risk-taking, confidence. But staying rich requires something completely different: humility, fear of loss, the ability to survive when things go wrong. Here is what most people misunderstand about wealth. They think the goal is to maximize gains. But the real goal, the one that actually leads to long-term wealth, is to not lose what you already have. Think about compounding. You have probably heard about compound interest, how Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world, how a small investment grows into something massive over decades. But here's what nobody tells you about compounding. It only works if you stay in the game. If you take huge risks and lose everything, you reset to zero. The compounding stops. All those years of growth, gone. The wealthy people who stay wealthy are not the ones who make the biggest bets. They are the ones who never allow one bad decision to wipe them out completely. Think of it like a tree. A young tree is flexible. It bends in the storm. That flexibility is what keeps it from snapping. But as it grows older, bigger, more powerful, it becomes more rigid. And if a massive storm comes, it can break. Wealth is similar. The strategies that help you grow must eventually give way to strategies that help you protect. The most common mistake people make here is this. They confuse their recent success with permanent skill. I invested in something and it doubled. I must be a genius. No. Maybe you were smart, maybe you were lucky, maybe both. But the dangerous part is when you take that confidence and start betting more, risking more, because you feel invincible. The market has humbled far smarter people than any of us. So what do? You build what I call a financial shock absorber. This means always keep a portion of your wealth, your savings, your investments, in a form that cannot be wiped out even if things go terribly wrong. Not because you are pessimistic, but because the future is unpredictable, and the people who survive unpredictability are the ones who plan for it. Getting rich is exciting. Staying rich is boring. But boring is what builds empires. All right, so we talked about your money story and about the art of staying rich. But now I want to share something that will feel almost uncomfortable, because the next idea goes against everything our society tells us about success and money. Ready? Stay with me. Tell me honestly, when you think of a rich person, what image comes to your mind? A big car, an expensive watch, designer clothes, a massive house, fancy vacations posted on Instagram. Am I right? We have been trained by movies, by ads, by social media to associate visible symbols with actual wealth. But here is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to hear. The person showing off the most is often the least wealthy one in the room. Here is the key insight. There is a massive difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich means you have a high income. Being wealthy means you have financial freedom, assets, savings, and security that work for you even when you are sleeping. And here is what most people miss. True wealth is invisible. When someone buys a 1 crore car, that is 1 crore that is not building wealth. It is 1 crore that is gone, traded for a display of status. But when someone quietly invests that same 1 crore into assets that compound over 20 years, you cannot see that. Nobody gives them a thumbs up on Instagram for it. Nobody stops them on the street to say, wow, great financial decision. The wealthy person is invisible. The rich-looking person is on display. This is what the uncomfortable truth this reveals. Most of us are spending money we don't have, to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't even like. We are not building wealth. We are building a performance. And the really painful part, the people you are trying to impress, they are too busy trying to impress others to actually care about what you own. This is what separates financially free people from the rest. The average person asks, how can I look successful? The financially free person asks, how can I be free? One is about the outside world's perception, the other is about your own security and peace of mind. The person driving a modest car, living in a moderate home, wearing simple clothes, but who has zero debt, a strong investment portfolio, and 3 years of expenses saved, that person has something money cannot buy. Options, freedom, peace. Think about this. A janitor. His name was Ronald Reed. He worked at a gas station and later as a janitor for most of his life. He earned modest wages his entire career. When he died in 2014, his estate was worth over $8 million. He left most of it to his local hospital and library. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody knew, because real wealth is not meant to be seen. He never drove a fancy car. He never wore expensive clothes. He just quietly, patiently, consistently saved and invested, decade after decade after decade. That is what wealth actually looks like. Now, we've talked about the psychology of money, your story, the art of keeping what you build, and understanding what wealth really is. But there is one final, deepest idea that most summaries of this topic completely miss. And this one might change how you make every financial decision for the rest of your life.
I want you to ask yourself this question right now. Why do you actually want money? Think about it. Don't give the polished Instagram caption answer. Give the real one. Is it security? Is it power? Is it to give your family a better life? Is it to stop being afraid of the end of the month? Whatever your answer is, I want you to follow it one step further. Why do you want that? If you say security, why do you want to feel secure? Because you want peace of mind. If you say freedom, why do you want freedom? Because you want control over your time. At the very bottom of every financial goal, if you keep asking why, you will find the same answer. You want the ability to wake up in the morning and decide how you spend your day. That is it. That is the entire game. The highest dividend that money can pay you is not a number in a bank account. It is this: the ability to say no to things that drain you, and yes to things that fulfill you. The ability to spend your Tuesday afternoon with your child, not because you got lucky, but because you planned for it. The ability to walk away from a job that is destroying your health, not because you hate working, but because you have the financial cushion to choose better. The ability to help someone you love without having to calculate whether you can afford to be generous. That is freedom, and that is the highest form of wealth. But here is where people go wrong with this idea. They think they need to reach a certain number before they can start pursuing freedom. Once I have 10 crows, then I will slow down. Once I hit that salary level, then I will spend more time with family. Once I retire, then I will start living. But freedom is not a destination. It is a daily practice. You can start building freedom right now, not by earning more tomorrow, but by needing less today. Every expense you eliminate that does not bring you genuine joy, that is one more unit of freedom returned to you. Every unnecessary debt you avoid, that is months, maybe years of your future freedom that you just preserved. The right way to apply this is to regularly ask yourself, does this decision move me closer to freedom or further away? Not every decision has to be a sacrifice. Life is for living. Enjoy the things that truly matter to you. Spend on experiences and people you love. But be ruthless about the things that do not matter. The status symbols, the keeping up with others, the spending that is really just filling an emotional hole. Direct your money with intention, not habit, not emotion, not social pressure. Money spent without intention is freedom spent without thought. Now you have the 4 pillars. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. So let me give you something very practical. A 7-day plan that takes everything we just talked about and turns it into real, daily behavior. Here is your 7-day plan. Simple, doable, powerful. Day 1. Know your story. Spend 15 minutes writing about your earliest money memory. What did your childhood teach you about money? Was it scarce? Was it abundant? Was it a source of fights at home? Awareness is the first step to change. Day 2. Audit your looking rich expenses. Go through your bank statement from last month. For each expense, ask, did I spend this because it genuinely made my life better, or because I wanted to look a certain way? No judgment, just honesty. Day 3. Build your shock absorber. Open a separate savings account today, right now if possible. Label it Freedom Fund or Sleep Well Money. Even if you start with 500 or 1,000 rupees, the habit of ring-fencing money is what matters. Commit to adding to it every single month automatically. Day 4. Define your enough. This one is powerful and most people never do it. Sit down and define what enough looks like for you. Not the maximum you could ever want, but the point at which you would feel genuinely free, genuinely at peace.
Write it down, be specific. Because if you never define enough, the finish line keeps moving and you run forever. Day 5, the 1-year rule. For every large purchase you are considering, anything that feels like it is about status rather than genuine utility, implement a 1-year waiting rule. If you still want it in 12 months, it probably has real value to you. If you have forgotten about it, you just saved yourself significant money. Day 6, compound one small habit. Find one financial habit you can do every single day without fail. Save 100 rupees, skip one unnecessary purchase, transfer a small amount to your investment account. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you do it every single day. Compounding works on habits the same way it works on money. Day 7, write your financial freedom letter. On day 7, write a letter to your future self, 5 years from now. Describe the life you want to be living. What does your morning look like? How do you spend your time? What are you free from? What are you free to do? Then, reverse engineer it. What financial decisions do you need today to reach that life? This letter becomes your compass. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with one final thought. We spend so much of our lives chasing money, worrying about money, comparing ourselves to others because of money. But the most financially wise people in the world share one quiet belief. Money is a tool, not a trophy. A hammer is useful when you are building something, but nobody frames their hammer and hangs it on the wall to impress their guests. Money, in the right hands, with the right mindset, builds security, builds freedom, builds a life that means something. But money chased for the wrong reasons, for status, for approval, to silence an inner emptiness, that money will never be enough, no matter how much of it you accumulate. So I want to ask you something very personal before you close this video. What are you actually building? Is it a life that looks impressive from the outside, but feels hollow on the inside? Or is it a life that might look simple, even ordinary, but gives you that quiet, unshakable sense of peace and freedom? That peace, the kind where you can sleep deeply at night, where you wake up without dread, where you know that if something goes wrong, you will be okay. That is the ultimate goal. Not the car, not the house, not the number in the bank. The peace, the freedom, the ability to live on your terms. That is what all of this is really about. And it starts, not with a salary hike, not with a lucky investment, but with a decision. A decision to understand money more deeply, to behave with it more wisely, to use it as a tool rather than worship it as a goal. You have that ability. You always did. If this video gave you even one idea that you are going to carry into your life, drop it in the comments right now. What was your biggest takeaway? What hit hardest? Tell me. I read every single comment. And if you believe someone in your life needs to hear this, share this video with them. One share might genuinely change someone's financial future. Hit the like button if you stayed all the way here, because you are the kind of person who takes their growth seriously, and that is already something special. And if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe now, because every week we go deep into ideas that change the way you think, act, and build your life. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, spend with intention, save with discipline, and live with freedom. Take care.